Real estate's your turf. You've putting out some of those, homes to die for, those incredible giant.
It's Nabi invented the term real estate porn, and really that's what it is. A chance to sneak inside and look inside the big expensive houses that otherwise you're not going to get anywhere near. I don't understand them. I really don't understand them. I guess if you got that kind of money, you got to spend it on something. But if I had that kind of money, I'd be doing other stuff with it.
Yeah, teach their own. If I want all those lottery things, I don't think I'd need some 20,000 square foot house. Maybe I'd stay in some luxury hotels while I travel the world and get my foot massages.
Buy a beachfront in Hawaii.
Yeah, but
see,
but there's some amazing places out there.
But it is interesting looking at them and looking at how people decorate them, because obviously they're all custom done, and how they furnish them. There's like almost, you can almost tell the age of the people who own the house because of the furniture. You got the old big stuffed sofas and stuff like that. Well, that's an older couple.
Yeah.
Then you got there's a younger guy. So it's interesting.
Well, it's like us with music. I think, everywhere you hit a certain point in age where you just kind of lock on to a style and a trend, and we stick with it. So we're never going to see, us more elderly getting on there, doing well with the hip new styles or anything. We stick to our older stuff.
But yeah, it is amazing what people will do to their houses.
So what were some of the prices on some of those ones you put?
The most expensive one, I think, in Montreal was $39 million.
$9 million for a house.
The most expensive one in Alberta was $12 million, up in Canmore. And it's I'm reasonably familiar with the house in so much as that years ago when they opened the Three Sisters Village up there. We went on a big tour of all the houses, but it looks totally different than it did back then.
I can imagine the property taxes and maintenance.
Oh, it's huge.
It's not just that purchase price you're dealing with.
No, a lot of the houses come listed with what your down payment's going to be. The down payment is more than most people spend on a house in our life or in the world we live in. And then the taxes are running, I don't know, $2,500, $3,000, $4,000 a month. So I have no idea how you could manage that. It just escapes me.
No, there's just people that are at a level of wealth that we just can't imagine, really.
No. And I don't even know if I'd want to be. I'd rather have the same amount of money as you've got.
Oh, well, that's a modest amount. Set your bar somewhere where it can be accomplished, and you've got it. I'm not starving, but Gene and I aren't in the market for any monster places in the near future. No. But and here's your most recent one. This is what people have been I've been hearing on the news talking about, though, and a lot of people are sweating right now. It sounds like the bubble could be popping in the real estate.
I hate that phrase.
Okay, well.
I hate that phrase. For the bubble to pop means that every housing market across the country has to implode. The bubble burst in the United States in 2008. That was the sign that that's a bubble bursting.
That was government intervention made a mess.
It was lack of government intervention, if the truth be told, because what they were doing down there in 2008 and prior to that is they were the mortgage companies, and it's a whole different set of rules down there than what we have. But they were giving mortgages to people who
never should have had them.
Should never have had them. And then what they did is they bundled them up. So what these small guys do is they say they'd put 50 mortgages into a bag, basically, take them to the big financial companies. The mortgages in that bag were not all good, but they had a value because each mortgage obviously has a value. So what happens is you got a bag full of mortgages that are worth $5 million, pick a number, that they're selling to the big guys for $3 million. So they're thinking this is a good deal, but they were all bad mortgages. That's why those big guys went down.
Well, I did a bunch of American work after that, and I was working in the Northeast a lot in Pennsylvania. And I remember doing a job in Bradford, and there was this was around 2008, 2009, just after the crash. And there was this mansion. It had to be 8,000 square feet, Victorian brick, beautiful, on probably an acre. You're asking 90,000.
Yeah.
They were begging people just to take it off their hands. It would have been a $5 million home in Calgary, and they were just trying to get out of this.
The bubble that burst in the States, that became a self-fulfilling prophecy in Canada, because you watch that when, oh boy, we're all in trouble. There's panic, sell the house quick. So now the number of homes for sale They're all over the place. The selection is huge. So in order to sell your house, you got to bring your price down below the guy next door. Otherwise, you're not going to sell it. So that's what everybody did.
Yeah, and
not everybody.
The stress test came along after that to make
after that, and that's right. Which is the stress test. When it initially came out, I kind of went, well, I don't know if we need that. And now, in retrospect, absolutely, that could save us. Right now, the stress test. Well, it used to be whatever mortgage rate you got plus 2% or 5.25%, whichever was higher that you had to qualify at. That qualification is now up around 6%. And with the Bank of Canada probably going to hit it up again 50, 75 in points in September, it'll go even higher. So that's pulling activity out of the market. So to say that people aren't necessarily in a panic to sell because of that stress test, they had to be able to prove they could make the payments at 6.5% or 5.25%. Otherwise, no mortgage. And that's federal regulations.
Because a panic sale is what could really cause a bad domino effect.
Absolutely.
And really.
And that's what happened in Canada, not everywhere. Canada recovered from that a whole lot quicker than the United States did. And that had a lot to do with Stephen Harper, who's back in the news. But there's so many pieces to this puzzle.
Well, and there's multiple markets. I mean, the real superheated ones we always hear about are in Vancouver and Toronto.
The Golden Horseshoe in the Lower Mainland and Victoria in BC will be hit the hardest. Or I should want to say
correct. I guess is the word you were using.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So,
but only because they were so hot and the prices were driven up so high. So if there's going to be a 23% reduction in sales, which is what the economists are forecasting today, 23% value in Toronto is a whole lot more money than it is in Calgary. So that's what people will look at. The other thing to keep in mind right now, with our sales down, yes. Prices are down, yes, across the board. But it's a slow season. The spring season ended probably in the middle of June. In Calgary, I looked at the numbers today. They're down from June, but they're up year over year. And that's very important. People should not be comparing going from year over year. Just what was it last year? What was it last month? Because that's where you see the trend coming in. Calgary, I think, from what I can be told, and Edmonton, Regina, Manitoba will, I guess that's a province, Winnipeg, are not going to be hit as hard. They will probably come through this a lot cleaner. And when I say through this, we don't know exactly what it's going to look like.
We got a pretty good idea. It sounds like we got more interest rate hikes coming down.
Oh, definitely. The Bank of Canada wants their rate to be at least 3.25% by October. The next rate announcement is in September, on the 7th of September, and then there's 2 more after that. So in order to get it to 3.25 from where it is now, they have to raise it 75 basis points. They'll either do it all at once in September and then rest and see how things are going, or they'll do it incrementally in the last 3 announcements.
And those rises, I mean, they can have a very significant impact depending on how much balance you're carrying on your mortgage if you renew. I mean, I know we just renewed recently, not extremely, but fairly, and it still hit us with basically we're up for a few $100 a month, but we're lucky, at least for the next 5 years, we're in an affordable spot. But if we had to renew by December, that could be a terrible hit.
Yeah, and again, it comes down to more than just housing and people buying and selling it. We're headed into a recession. There's no question about that. I think we're in one now. There's a big argument in the United States about how you define that, but we are in one. How deep and severe that will be, I don't know. Nothing like 2008, I don't believe. So it comes down to employment. If a lot of people lose their jobs because of the recession, then their mortgages are in jeopardy.
Well, then we see defaults, and that's a whole.
And you'll see defaults. You're going to see some defaults anyway. But again, nobody wants that to happen, but it's only natural. I mean, the housing market in Canada, all the markets in Canada, were so hot, so rapid, it had to come down at some point in time.
Yeah, well, and I see it just from a question. I mean, it all ties together, anyways. And Pamela Jones Kenny asking for you, just saying, what happens to all the outrageous rent that's being charged to a lot of renters in BC? I know my daughter's got to go back to university this fall in Vancouver, and she's having a hell. She can't even find a spot, much less afford one. So, would it trickle down at least to give some relief there?
I just about said a really stupid thing. I was going to say that's the government's problem, but it's not. It's a supply issue, and the rents are going to go up anyway, because we've got 500,000 people moving to Canada every year, most of them to Toronto and Vancouver. We'll get some here, and they've got to have some place to live. So it comes down to supply. The government should get out of it. They come up with all these programs that are nothing more than bureaucratic nightmares. You spend more money hiring bureaucrats than they do on building apartments. They need to go sit down with the Canadian Home Builders Association or just travel around to each city and say, look, to the builders, look, here's $100 million, which to the government's nothing. Here's $100 million, go build some apartments.
Or just even get out of the damn way. Like, I've had Shane Wenzel on a couple of times, and he's good and he's outspoken. And I mean, the ridiculousness in Calgary is far from alone with it. It's 8 years from proposal to construction on an area. And I mean, the investment and long-term thinking involved, and that's assuming you get approved. You could get stopped any step along the way with a new development. Nobody wants to invest, and or at least they're investing because they have to. But it's reducing the pool. And meanwhile, I look at discussions online, though. I mean, City Hall, the hipsters, and everybody's still screaming, "No more development! No more development!" I mean, they're only going to make it worse.
That's like being part of a clique.
I know.
Let's run around and be stupid.
But the clique is running the city. That's the
Unfortunately,
problem.
that is true. Yeah. But the other thing, I mean, in terms of the type of housing that's required, which is multifamily apartments, not the towers they're talking about downtown Calgary, that doesn't work. One of the things that gets in the way is the money from the banks, because a builder has to sell, I think, 50% of the building before the bank will say, "Here's your money, go build it." So that takes a while. But if the government, instead of coming up with these horse's ass programs that they do, just took the cash and said, here's Shane Wenzel, go build some apartments. Shane would be out there building them right now.
The dirt be moving the week afterwards,
yeah.
And it would put some people to work and take some inflationary pressure off.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't want to see government throwing money out. That's a separate discussion, but it'd be better than what they're wasting it on. I mean, $87 billion climate plan in Calgary.
Which is never, I mean, that's just virtue signaling.
Pie in the sky crap, but they'll spend a lot of money trying.
Of course, well, they already have.
Yeah.
But you said the government throwing money away. I agree with that. But if the government gave them money and got out of their way in terms of development permits and crap like that, it's not throwing it away. It's providing cheap accommodations for people in BC and across the country and places where it's needed, because you can target it. And supply is still an issue, big time issue all across the country. Regardless of the fact that sales are going to slow down and the demand is going to weaken, supply is still a major, major problem.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not something that changes quickly. I mean, even if suddenly the government woke up, cut a bunch of the red tape out of the way and threw some money out, you're looking at a year before these new places are habitable.
I don't know. I think I think they could be fast tracked. I don't know the exact building cycle, but I mean, the problem you're going to have there, a bit more than anything else, is the labor to build them.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. Just because you have the money and the space, but you got to find some skilled help. I mean, I remember also during the boom, back in the early 2000s, and some of the quote unquote contractors, and the amount of people who bought new houses and were realizing my pipes already leak or my place is the electric's on fire. We just got a lot of challenges all at once hitting right now.
Yeah, we do. It's I almost feel like going down to the rabbit hole to see if Alice in Wonderland is still kicking around.
Yeah, well, and as you said, we're probably already there, and it's kind of undeniable. We're moving into the R word. A recession is coming. I mean, the advice I guess we could give most people is just batten the hatches, try to reduce your debt load, but don't panic and sell.
Yeah, the worst thing that can happen is do a panic sale. One thing that people should not try to do is forecast what the price is going to be 2 or 3 months from now. That's just wrong to do that. the last 2 years, it was easy because it just did this. It's doing this, but not like that. It's like this, and if it stays that way, we'll be fine.
Ride it out a few years later, it'll come back.
But once again, if you start seeing a ton of for sale signs in the city, we got a big problem coming up.
I got a feeling we got a few years of insanity. I mean, you can't. It's unavoidable to point out. I mean, definitely the pandemic has a lot to do with this. It's just messed up markets in every sort of way. I mean, was it 2 years ago down in Prentice where I live? I was watching the Odd Neighbors. They throw a for sale sign out front, and the place was gone in a day. And they were getting people bidding wars to get into these houses. And again, I mean, that's just not a healthy market either. I mean, that's superheating.
No, but that's the Bank of Canada's fault, if there is a fault, by putting that interest rate down to 0.25%. That just started a fire. You're paying a mortgage of 1.8%. That's unheard of, really. On a fixed rate.
Yeah.
And so people just went, okay, let's go. Get her done.
Well, I don't know. What else do you think we got to look forward to before I let you?
Labor Day.
Labor Day.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think next Monday's a holiday.
It is. It is. We're supposed to have some nice weather and such.
Yeah, it's supposed to be hot this week. I don't know. In terms of housing, I think that's about it. I mean, it's hard to nail it down, so to speak, because it's still kind of developing. Mm-hmm. I think we'll have a better sense for things by the time August is over. That'll be, I think, a much more clearer picture of what's going on. I mean, a lot of people right now have just said the hell with it, and they're on vacation, and it's like, the heck with it.
I'll deal with it when I get home.
Exactly.
It's been such a rotten couple of years.
Oh yeah, but that's a good thing to get going, get out, have some fun, enjoy your family, go see the people that you haven't been able to see for a while, and just forget everything. Because number one, if you dwell on it forever, it just gets worse.
Yeah, well, and we can lighten up now and then. That's part of the problem I have in this show. I'm always, ranting, raving, angry,
me too.
But that's what it's all about. But I mean, yeah, I see what you wrote about the Brad Pitt and some other stuff in a story a little while ago too. It doesn't always have to be real estate and dry stuff, I guess.
Well, no, and I don't focus just on that. I've got a couple of things in the works. I got a really good one that you're going to like. Company down in the States did a media survey, Rasmussen Reports. And they went to the big media outlets and asked the reporters and the editors what they thought were the major issues that they should be reporting. And then they went out and talked to the people on the street and said, what issues do you have that are most important? The two lists are entirely different. Entirely different.
That's not very surprising.
No, it isn't. But it's an indictment, I think, of the mainstream media, the legacy media, that without doing any homework, they just decide in the editorial meetings, oh, no, it's all about COVID. And then the people are going, no, it's inflation. So the media, legacy media, wonders why everybody's turning them off. It's because they're not reporting on what people care about.
Well, that's what I've been pointing out a lot lately when it comes to climate change or COVID or all of these other things that may or may not be real threats, fine. But when a person can't make the bills, none of that crap matters anymore. If you can't pay the mortgage, you can't put food on the table, you can't get to work with your vehicle, you don't care if the temperature might go up a degree in 50 years or if there's a disease going around that's killing 1 in 100,000 people. You got more immediate concerns.
Oh, yeah, it's the kitchen table issues. People don't sit down at dinner and say, geez, I wonder if the COVID's coming back. They're going, how are we going to pay the mortgage this month? That's the concern, obviously. The other one I'm going to tackle, and this will probably get me in trouble, is the climate change thing. I found some really good stuff that you'll also enjoy about from the way back in the beginning when they started first talking about this back in the middle 70s, 80s, using exactly the same phrasing that they're using now, except by 1980 the world would be just burning up. All gone.
Oh, there's only so much, apocalyptic copy out there. I mean, you just cut and paste, change the dates, and whatever the cost
exactly
is.
What they do.
And I mean, it never stops. I just remember, I was a voracious reader in a used bookstore, and I pulled out just randomly and bought this old used book back in the 90s, and that was the Population Time Bomb, all the way back from, I think that came out in the late 60s, and That was the prediction that, we're all going to die because we're going to overpopulate. And
that's the same thing they're using now.
It's just there's always something. There's always an apocalypse around the corner. There's always a boogeyman that we've got to be afraid of. It gets exhausting.
Well, it's exhausting, but it's unfortunate because people buy into it, and you got 1 or 2% of the people in the world who are promoting all this apocalyptic stuff, and the woke people and that everybody's catering to. And there's like 98% of the people out there who are kind of like, huh? But so why are we? I think just pay them no mind. Just say, go away.
Well, I think that's starting to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at the ratings for conventional media outlets, and unfortunately, the government response is to try and bail them out. But instead, as you said, they should be listening to what people want to hear and providing it.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, lots to look forward to. I am looking forward to that one, and also, I mean, I just enjoy putting up those.
Well, Brad Pitt wearing a skirt. Come on.
Well,
that's news.
I noticed that the picture had Jolie next to it too. So I mean, there's eye candy for both sides. Even if she might be crazy, I'm sure she has a lot of other assets that would have been admirable.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, thanks for coming in to talk to me today, Myke. It was good to see you.
Always enjoyable.
We will chat again, I'm sure, soon.
Okay, great.
All right. Thanks.
Take care.